Hello and welcome to Library Connection. I'm Mandy Cantrell, Youth Services Director at the B.B. Comer Memorial Library here in Sylacauga. I'm glad you've joined us today, and I want to give a big thanks to Robert at TV47 and everybody at the station for helping us to do this program to let you know about different things in the community. Something now, I think that what we're going to talk about today is something that is, I don't know if it's in the news so much as it's the time of year to be doing that. Don Bozeman is joining me today. He is the owner of Camellia Homes, right?
Correct.
The state flower.
State flower.
I love that. I think that's nice. But Don is joining us. Before we get started into more about home buying and home building, tell us about yourself, Don.
Originally from Florida, came here about 25 years ago, fell in love with the town, ended up marrying Kathy Fraser.
Yeah.
Most folks know her in town. If they don't know her, they know her parents quite well. They probably taught everybody in town.
Yes.
So at one
true.
time or another, and just absolutely fell in love with the place. And we've been here for 25 years now.
Yeah, well, we are glad you're here. I know I see your truck driving around town with Camellia, and we know each other from church. But so you sell homes, but you also do home inspections. Is that correct?
We do. We had started the home inspection business back in '06 and left that to do some managerial work at Purcell Farms.
Right.
And we left there and went into full-time real estate. Okay. And we just recently went back into the home inspection business. That's alongside of our real estate
Right.
business and the renovation business, but that's kind of how it came back about.
Well, all those things go hand in hand.
They
I
do.
feel like.
It really is all. It's kind of a one-stop shop here, I guess is what you call it.
Right. Well, this time of year, is this the time when people start thinking about buying or selling a home, or it's almost spring?
This has traditionally been the time of year that people start looking or try to buy. It's always been kind of an industry standard. It seems to be the fall and the spring are the popular times.
Okay.
I guess this kind of runs by usually 4 to 6 weeks, unless it's a cash sale
Right.
that it takes to close real estate deals. So folks start looking in the spring to catch that summer holiday, to be able to close and move,
Yeah.
and then they'll stop during the summer because of vacations and everything else. But people, not so much in Sylacauga area because we have one school system, but in bigger metro areas like Birmingham and Atlanta and so forth, people want to maybe move into a different school district. So this is kind of where the moving is always done around holiday times. When we bought our house, we did it in around Christmas or Thanksgiving. So we
Right.
were able to use those holidays to be able to move into our house.
Right.
So I can kind of get it. It's a hard move. It's hard to move, and
is.
so you have to have that time to be able to do it.
Right. Gosh. Well, great. What are home buyers looking for now? Is it, large kitchens, storage space? I mean, I have an idea of what I wanted, but what are people in general looking for in a home?
Every person's different. In my experience, what I think everybody's going to want is not necessarily all the time. Probably 90% of people kind of follow what I call the HGTV effect.
Oh, yes.
And it's whatever's on HGTV, that seems to be what people want. The big open concepts, the big kitchens, the granite, the real fancy stuff, and that's what people want. But I have had buyers that want more of a galley-style kitchens, just stuff. Every buyer is different, so you can't kind of lump it all into one thing. Right. But that's kitchens, big kitchens seem to be the big sellers, nice bathrooms. That seems to be what always sells houses.
Oh, okay. And I'm sure it has to do with age. A retired couple is not looking for the same thing as a young couple just getting started and having children.
No, not at all. They're usually trying to downsize, so the upkeep is not so much, and this would be older folks. That doesn't necessarily all the time. Now, we've thought about downsizing. We couldn't figure out what to do with our furniture, so we're just going to stay where we are.
That is true. Yeah.
And but you have younger families that are just getting started, and obviously finances is always important.
Sure.
You have to buy what you can afford.
Right.
And but they're thinking usually down the road. We're planning on having children, so they are trying to plan ahead for that. You obviously don't want to buy a real small house, say a 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom house if you're planning on having kids, because
Right.
that's not much fun or conducive to having other kids.
Right. That's true. Great. So you said large kitchens, I know. What about yards? Small yards, low maintenance lawns, yards?
That there again, it's everybody's different. Different people like different things. Now, if you have a large yard, which is a lot of fun, but you have to remember that you have to mow the grass every year.
That's true.
Or every week during the
Yeah.
summer. So you know,
Right.
it's a lot of work, and a lot of people, especially what we're seeing more in the last couple of years, that people just don't really want to spend that much time. Now, some
Okay.
people love getting out and fiddling with it. A lot of people do, but you're seeing more people in this age that we're going through are more into experiences, trying to go
Right.
places and do things, and just don't want to spend their time having to maintain a big house or a big yard. It is nice, and you've got to remember when you're buying a house, you're not just buying the house, you're buying the lot that goes with it, and lots are
true.
not cheap, so if you can reduce the cost somewhere, we're seeing bigger houses being built on smaller lots. That's where you come in and see a lot of the garden homes, communities being
right.
built just where they don't have that huge upkeep expense, which it can get very expensive.
It does, if you're going to have it landscaped and keep the yard and the flowers. Now, for somebody that loves to garden, that's great. But if you don't, I can understand that. And when your kids are young, you're busy. You're going places.
Well, you have really good parks in this area, and there's so many places. And I think that's more what people are wanting to do. And you have what I call crazes, but I'm not sure if it's a craze or not. It goes along with the tiny homes that we had talked about.
Yes.
That people are going more to that and seeing kind of where they just need a place to sleep. They don't necessarily have to have this huge thing. I know with our house, we like where we are, so we just don't move. But we don't necessarily need, and I think you and I are in the same shape.
Yes, we are. Yeah.
So but your kids may come back home. You never know, and bring their kids with them. So you better have an extra bedroom. But sometimes it's cheaper just to put them into a hotel instead of trying to maintain a big house.
That's true, but you're right. Furniture and things that I know. In my generation or our generation, I have my grandparents' bed. I need to keep that, and those are wonderful things. But people younger don't necessarily, and that's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they're more into, I'd rather have the experiences with the people than have the things, and that's not. It's all good. It's
It is all good, and it's all a personal perspective on what you value in life. And some people are more people are wanting those memories instead of having stuff. And I think it's a generational thing. But every person is different. There is no one size fits all at all.
That's right. Well, we're going to pause for a commercial break, and we'll come right back in a few minutes and talk some more with Don.
Home making you sick? Moisture and unsafe air from your crawl space can infiltrate your home, causing health hazards and high utility bills. Ox Foundation Solutions can remedy any mold or mildew problem in your home. It's time to get strong. How strong? Ox Strong. Get a free estimate from Ox Foundations.
Coosa Valley Medical Center, one of the top 10 hospitals in Alabama, is also Silicaga's largest employer. Services from the emergency room to surgery to cancer treatment to post-stroke care. You won't believe what's right in your backyard. It's Coosa Valley Medical Center in Silicaga. So, if you're sick in Alabama, choose one of the top 10 hospitals in Alabama. That is Coosa Valley Medical Center.
Marble City Pharmacy in Silicaga is your destination for the highest quality health care. Our knowledgeable pharmacists are always available for questions about your medications or advice on taking over-the-counter products and supplements. Our friendly staff can assist you in choosing from our full lines of compression hose and medical equipment. And don't forget our gift department. We have a great selection of unique gifts for every occasion. Stop by and see us today. Marble City Pharmacy, here for life.
Welcome back to Library Connection. I'm talking with Don Bozeman, the owner of Camellia Homes. Before we talk a little bit more about home inspection, we talked about tiny houses. We have a book at the library, How to Build Your Own Tiny House. For somebody that might want this, which might be a retired couple, young couple, how big are these?
I think the standard on the maximum is 400 feet. I think they figure 250 to 400 feet is kind of the average.
Wow. This is not for me, but for some people it really is. It meets their needs. So we have books like that. If you have thought about it, just come check out the book and read a little bit more about it. Okay, we talked about buying homes. How important is a home inspection?
I think it's probably one of the most important things, and you could probably ask anybody in this profession, they'll tell you the same thing. If you do not have a background in construction, if you don't really know what you're looking for, it is highly advisable, and I know that everybody in real estate will tell you the same thing. It's not like you wouldn't think about going and buying a car without checking the thing out, having a mechanic check it, unless it's a brand new car maybe. And same thing with a house. It's the biggest investment that people probably make in their lifetime. So there's so many things that are not seen by just looking when you're walking through a house that need the electrical system, the plumbing system, the mechanical system, just the roof, the foundation. It's just so many things to look at, and as professional home inspectors are trained and licensed to do this. So it is absolutely a necessity to go through that process.
And I think not necessarily are people trying to cheat you. They just don't know.
Right.
I mean, you don't know what might be happening.
You don't know, and I know our company, and I think several other companies, offer a pre-listing inspection, and where you don't get caught by surprise when you do this. Our company also does a home health inspection where we'll just come in and go through things, showing you things that you over time people tend to forget or don't see what's right in front of them, and sometimes it's good to get a fresh set of eyes, to look at it.
So what does home health inspection mean?
This is where and you could get a contractor or somebody that's licensed to do this coming in and just testing the different systems to see, do you have a problem that could potentially be a bigger problem, down the road? Is this something, because there is no such thing as a small leak. I mean, there is no such thing. I've had more times than not that, especially in like rental properties, that people, well, it was just a small leak, we didn't want to bother you. And there is no such thing. A drip can turn into 5 gallons in just no time at all. And unfortunately, water is a house's worst enemy, so it needs to be taken care of.
A small leak can rot floors and
Yes.
all of that.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. So you've had the classes and the training to do all the inspection. Huh?
Yes, we had done all our class work, and there's it's a national association that you have to belong to, and a test that the state gives to home inspectors. It's actually a misdemeanor to do home inspections without a license for pay, and so that's kind of where you want to make sure that whoever you're hiring and paying is actually a licensed, either a contractor, a licensed contractor, or a licensed home inspector.
So they know what they're doing.
Right,
That's important.
Right.
Well, we talked a lot about buying homes. What if I want to sell my home?
Absolutely.
What do I need to do?
Great question. And I'm just saying this from my experience, from what I've seen. There is no anybody that knows everything about it. The biggest thing is to show your house is that you're trying to let the buyer imagine what their stuff is going to look like. Too many times that we've seen, the biggest word is declutter. And that's the biggest problem that people have. What you think, that naked lady statue on your mantle, you think looks great, but it's not necessarily going to be a turn on to somebody else. So we see a lot of countertops that have, and my house is a perfect example, toasters and blenders and crock pots and you name it, all over the countertop. Everybody does. Get rid of it. Just get rid of all of it. Put it in boxes. Store it somewhere if you have to even buy a unit. You want to make the house look bigger than what it
Okay.
actually is, and clutter, grandma's 3 couches that you just can't get rid of,
Right.
and it makes the house look so much smaller, and you want to maximize, just so you really want to go minimal. If you have family pictures, photos, they look great to you, but they're not necessarily going to look great to a buyer. Remove those.
Okay.
Maybe just put just a regular picture on the wall or whatever. It's just little things like that. But any good real estate agent that you get with will probably tell you the same things.
Right.
They'll help you through this. We see a lot more of a trend of people trying to sell their own homes.
Oh, okay.
And it's not a bad thing, don't get me wrong, but sometimes it's worth hiring a professional that
Right.
does this all the time,
Who knows how to do
that knows
it.
how to stage.
Well, that makes perfect sense. People want to be able to look at your home and see spaces where they can
right.
put their items.
That's right. That's
Not,
correct.
oh my goodness, there's no room in here.
That's correct.
I hadn't thought of that. Not everybody uses a toaster oven
That's right.
like I do every day,
That's
things
right.
like that. Well, that's a great idea. Should you really put a lot of money into repainting and new carpet when the buyer might want to do that?
Well, and that's, I think there's 2 schools of thought on that. A good play on that is if you already have neutral colors, and they're not bad shape, you want to steer clear of really loud, bright colors, and usually nice neutral colors, because people can imagine their own colors being on the walls. The main thing is that it needs to be clean. It needs to be in good shape. You can always negotiate in the contract, maybe repainting the house.
Okay.
So there's all kind of options, but if you just go ahead and spend all the money, you may make a very expensive mistake and pick the wrong colors that nobody wants to have. So I would say just make sure it's clean and in good shape, not paint
Right.
peeling and all that.
Oh, sure, yes. And nice cream color
Cream,
walls.
cream
maybe.
color, grays are really in this year,
Yeah,
and
okay.
light grays, but usually something that's light, especially if you don't have a lot of light coming into the room. You
Okay.
want to make everything look bigger than what it actually is.
Okay, so it wouldn't necessarily cost a lot of money
No,
to
no,
get,
no.
Yeah.
The biggest thing is the decluttering and the cleaning, and you don't want to turn off a buyer right off the bat. We've seen this so many times that people they want to sell the home, but they don't want to pick the child's toys up or do this,
yeah.
and we've been through this so many times.
Well, I'm glad. Decluttering is probably
Right.
the hardest thing
That's
to
the
do.
hardest thing.
but,
That's the
we-
hardest
we
thing.
need
Most
to do
important.
it.
Most important.
That's right. What about things like pools?
Pools
Gardens,
are great. Mostly in the spring when it's turning warm, everybody
Right.
gets that spring fever and they want a pool really bad. But
Yeah.
you have to remember, you have to maintain that pool all
That's
year
true.
long. And on average, a pool, from my understanding, I don't own a pool, but it's about $100 a month is what you can
Okay,
figure
yeah.
for utilities, for chemicals, all that. It's great. Mostly what we see is people that have young children want to have a pool.
Right. There's activity right there.
Activity right there, you're going to use the pool, but then when it gets September and October, now it's not as much fun. And also some people with young children will look at a pool as more of a liability.
Oh, it's
and
dangerous.
just right off the bat, we've had that. I love
sure.
the house if it didn't have the pool. I don't want to
Okay.
spend the money to have to fill the pool in. So
That's true.
it's a 50-50 shot.
Right. What about a well-landscaped yard?
You
I think I
can't-
know that's good.
Yeah, you can't ever go wrong with that. You just don't want to do something crazy. And
Okay.
and I hate to keep saying the same thing, that you're just trying to make it run of the mill, but run of the mill, people can kind of picture their own
Right,
thing. You just don't want to do anything outlandish, and that's the most important thing.
That someone would buy the house and think, oh my goodness, it's going to take hours and
Right,
hours and
right.
hours to
money
maintain
and
these.
money to get
And money.
straighten this out.
That's true. That's true. What about if you? I know. Maybe you like your home, you like the neighborhood you live in. We talked about that. You can change houses, but your neighborhood, if
That's
you
right.
love your neighborhood, you don't want to leave.
That's right.
How is it to remodel or renovate?
I'm real big on remodeling, and that's
Okay.
mainly what our company does. And a new home is great, but the expense is so high. Generally, you can always remodel less expensively than you
Okay.
can go build new.
That's true.
So if you love your neighborhood, we had talked about that
Yes.
earlier, you can always fix a house, but you can't fix a neighborhood. So
true.
if you can go in there, most houses you can do just about anything to them. There is an expense involved,
Sure.
but if you are with a good contractor, they can pretty well walk you through the process. You always have to remember your numbers. This is always a numbers game, and you don't want to build a house that's so much more expensive than the neighborhood, because that is a way to lose everything. But if you're satisfied where you are and you feel you're going to live there a long time, make yourself comfortable. There's no reason going your whole life not being comfortable and not enjoying your house.
That's true. That's a good idea. We're going to pause for another commercial break, and we'll be right back to talk some more with Don.
Home making you sick? Moisture and unsafe air from your crawl space can infiltrate your home, causing health hazards and high utility bills. Ox Foundation Solutions can remedy any mold or mildew problem in your home. It's time to get strong. How strong? Ox Strong. Get a free estimate from Ox Foundations.
Coosa Valley Medical Center, one of the top 10 hospitals in Alabama, is also Silicaga's largest employer. Services from the emergency room to surgery to cancer treatment to post-stroke care. You won't believe what's right in your backyard. It's Coosa Valley Medical Center in Silicaga. So, if you're sick in Alabama, choose one of the top 10 hospitals in Alabama. That is Coosa Valley Medical Center.
Marble City Pharmacy in Silicaga is your destination for the highest quality health care. Our knowledgeable pharmacists are always available for questions about your medications or advice on taking over-the-counter products and supplements. Our friendly staff can assist you in choosing from our full lines of compression hose and medical equipment. And don't forget our gift department. We have a great selection of unique gifts for every occasion. Stop by and see us today. Marble City Pharmacy, here for life.
Welcome back to Library Connection. I'm talking with Don Bozeman, the owner of Camellia Homes, and we're just about to talk about remodeling. And if you're thinking about remodeling, here is the Scott brothers, Jonathan and Drew Scott, on your dream home, ultimate guide to finding and fixing your perfect house. So if you want to do it yourself, or you want to get some great ideas of what you might want to do, please come check this book out. Now, remodeling, we talked about, the expense. It's not the expense of buying a new home.
Right.
But what are some reasons to remodel, besides maybe adding that extra bedroom, updating it, more energy efficient, things like that?
Well, and speaking of Scott brothers,
Yeah.
that's my heroes. I
All
kept
right.
thinking if I stayed in remodeling long enough, I'd end up looking like them, but it's not happened so far. So remodeling, a lot of the older homes that we grew up with.
Yes.
At the time when these were built, the trends were you had living rooms and family rooms, and nobody uses formal
Nobody
living
used
rooms.
the living room, yes.
We're seeing dining rooms kind of going by the wayside because people are doing big rooms now and just putting everything
Right.
into a big room. So to update, you always have to think of your house, how am I going to sell this thing?
That's true.
And you have to keep up with that. Now, some people, probably 10%, still like that kind of stuff. It's what they grew up with.
Sure.
But we're seeing it kind of being outdated. The things that were there are outdated. And my biggest thing that we like to upgrade when we buy them or remodel them to resell, we try to upgrade to get it into the modern era, the electrical and the plumbing and the mechanical. That's
good.
the heart of a house.
And that is an energy saving.
It is an energy saving.
Better windows?
That's correct. Everything that is on the market now, it'll almost pay for itself, maybe not entirely.
Wow, yeah.
You have to take that into account because you are having to pay somebody to do this unless you're able to do it yourself. So.
Right. But I know probably something I would like to do is enlarge the master bathroom. We have a home that we have a little bitty bathroom. Now we've managed and it's fine,
sure.
but things like that are always a plus, right?
Absolutely, and you can't ever go wrong with bathrooms and kitchens. You can't go wrong unless you spend too much. You have to be careful how much you're spending. But especially we're about the same age, and it's just when you get older and you're with your spouse or significant other, you just are in the bathroom at the same time.
Yeah.
And it just gets difficult.
Yeah,
So sure, at that point in time, the kids are gone. You've got a little bit more spending money to be able to do that. Make yourself comfortable.
That's true. And I know a lot of people always wanted a two-story house. I always want a two-story house. But then as you get older, you think, well, I probably need a bedroom on the main floor.
That's right.
So I won't have, actually, when we were buying a house, I had a bad back. So I was like, no stairs, no stairs at all. And we were younger, but still, you know, that's something to think about too as you age, different things.
That's correct, because you have to think about this. Your parents may be moving in with you one day, and you know, that stairs that were not that hard, you know, when you were 30, when you're 60, all of a sudden it's harder and harder. You start thinking about elevators and escalators more.
That's true. That's true. Gosh, and I think about things like bathtubs.
Yep.
As you get older, bathtub wheelchair accessible.
Yes,
for some
absolutely.
families. That's
We
something they
had
need.
just done one for my father-in-law and mother-in-law, and when we designed it, actually Charles Fraser designed it, and I built it. But we made it big enough for a wheelchair because they're both in their 80s, and they were thinking there's going to come a time that we're going to have to do something different. And so, yeah, it's huge, and all the stuff can be done. It's just you have to plan it out and think ahead of time.
Right, because you hope you never have to use that.
That's correct.
But you want to be prepared.
That's right.
What about, this is not even something we talked about before, safety, security?
This is Sylacauga. I feel safe and secure in Sylacauga, and always have. But there's so many new systems. We don't have one. I probably maybe ought to invest. We have a small dog, so that's kind of our security.
That's your alarm,
that's our alarm right there if he does wake up. But no, and that's huge. And that's a good question. And we're seeing more. You see advertisements on TV all the time about different systems. So yeah, absolutely. If you're feeling kind of unsafe, then especially when my mother was getting older, we did something for her, but it was more of if she fell down that we would be able to get somebody there, because that's terrifying.
That's true, that's true. And I think of things like the lighting outside your house. That's, to me, that's part of security also. The lighting, it doesn't have to be a home security system, but the lighting, the landscape, you know, you don't want real tall shrubs and things like that. But
well, they say that, and I'm not an expert on security at all, but putting prickly bushes in front of windows and stuff like that, you want to discourage, because not that I'm an experienced thief, but if I was, I think I would probably turn away if I was being ate up by bushes.
Right.
So
I'm going to the next house.
Yeah, I'm going to the next house where it's a whole lot easier to get in. So.
Well, listen, this has been exciting, Don. I've learned a lot of different things about home. I hope to never have to move again, but if I do, I've gotten a lot more information. I'm so glad you're here. So Don is with Camellia Homes. You have a website?
We do.
Facebook page?
We do. www.camhomesal.com, and our number is easy to find. Feel free to call us if you ever need any information or just want to talk real estate. We can do this all day.
Great, great. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, and thank you for joining me on Library Connection.